We only have time for a couple more questions. Matt, please go ahead.
Matthew Lee, Inner City Press. On behalf of the Free UN Coalition for Access, here's hoping the mission will do stakeouts after consultations so we can find out what's happening in there. But I wanted to ask you about
It's not nearly as interesting as you would expect.
Yeah, well, at least we can ask. You know? On the program of work, you have Yemen and you also have Sudan ICC. So I wanted to ask about something that brings them together, which is the presence, the use in the coalition of Sudanese troops in Yemen by the Saudi-led coalition. Some people have said it's sort of a strange, given their record and the fact that the government of Sudan is under ICC indictment for the use of these troops in Darfur. It seems like a funny part of the coalition in Yemen. So I wanted your thoughts on that. And also, during the month of December, the long-delayed report on sexual abuse in Central African Republic is supposed to come out. It was supposed to come out, you know, in the summer, then in November. So I'm wondering, do you think that the Council will, given the importance of this issue of peacekeepers and accountability if abuse does take place, will the Council take it up? And what do you think, either personally or nationally, should happen on the report? Thanks.
Thank you. Well, on the issue of sexual abuse and exploitation, I did travel all the way to India and did give a speech, and a third of which was dedicated to that topic, because it is clear that whatever the notional zero tolerance policy that exists here, the spate of allegations is extremely disturbing, and the loss of trust that results when civilians who are counting on the UN for protection begin to view them as predators cannot be overstated. And I think the Secretary General has taken a series of steps now that are aimed at filling some of the gaps that have existed. But fundamentally, if we don't do what I sought to do on my visit overseas and what we are now doing bilaterally around the world, which is elevate the issue of accountability in capitals, every capital, I mean, including, you know, if U.S. personnel were accused of carrying out these kinds of abuses, you know, where the accountability needs to exist in the first instance is, of course, at the UN. Those individuals need to be repatriated and an investigation needs to be launched. But fundamentally, it is the member states that are going to need to take ownership of what their troops are doing in other countries, as if it was happening in one's own country and against one's own families. I don't really have a comment on the Sudan. Oh, excuse me, let me finish on CAR. I don't yet know in terms of how we will take it up. We do have, as I mentioned, a lot happening related to CAR. It's possible we could combine discussion of the report. I think it depends on the precise timing, and but if it isn't in this month, it certainly will be something the United States will support discussing at the earliest possible occasion. On Sudan and Yemen, I mean, I would just first of all underscore that under the leadership in Khartoum, the Sudanese government has fought in a manner, whether it was against the South Sudanese people for many, many years, or in Kordofan and Blue Nile now, or over the last couple of years, or God knows in Darfur, the manner in which Sudan has employed force has consistently ignored or violated international humanitarian law. I mean, there's just no way around it. It is the use of indiscriminate weapons of war and seemingly scant regard for civilian life. So we would be very concerned that units, certainly any units that were involved in the kinds of atrocities we have seen in Darfur on the ground or from the air, or those in other parts of Sudan, if they were involved elsewhere, and have encouraged the coalition to be extremely discerning and to make every effort to ensure that anything that they are doing in Yemen is in compliance with IHL.